Been a hot second since I've showed my face on this channel, that's for sure. Hello, welcome back to my bullet journaling channel. My name is Sophie. I'm glad that you're here. And today we're going to be doing a video that I don't think I've done before, and that is recreating some of my old bullet journal spreads. This is my 6th year bullet journaling, and so I have, let's see, what's 12 times 5 plus 5? At least 60 something bullet journal themes that I've done over the course of my life. And of course, over 5-6 years, you get pretty good and you improve a lot. And so looking back at my old artwork, I have so much love for it, of course, because it's when I first started. And some of my earlier themes are really great, but also I think now I could improve on some of my older themes. So this is like the start of a potential series. If y'all really like this video, I can always continue with more episodes, but let's just start with video 1. And I'm going to be recreating 2 different themes from my 2021 bullet journal. I think I'm going to start with the one from December 2021, which was my Cirque du Soleil theme. I went and saw Cirque du Soleil in the November of this year, so I wanted to make my theme inspired by the show. And so I have 2 trapeze artists kind of hanging from the ceiling. This theme I think is really cool. I think the color combination is pretty out there for me with like the maroon and the blue and the gold. And so I think I can do something like this, but just better. My anatomy skills have improved. I can do more detail. I want more contrast in the cover page. And so this is the first one that I'm going to be recreating today. The second one I want to do is from my first bullet journal from 2021, my April theme from this year. So I did a scrapbooking music kind of theme. Throughout most of the spreads, I didn't actually draw all that much. It's just music notes, sheet music, and brown craft paper. But I think I can do something now where I combine some scrapbooking elements with some drawn elements and really make this theme more Darkademia and just come to life more. At least I'm hoping. I'm filming this intro before I draw anything, so let's just cross our fingers that what happens like in the vision in my head appears on paper. But before we get into the art, because this video is not sponsored, I do want to talk about my own website and product, which is the Undated Bullet Journal. If you don't know, I sell this bullet journal on my online shop called themigastudio.com. This is a full pre-made bullet journal just for you. It has 12 different months of already sketched out bullet journal themes, including the artwork in black and white line art, so you can color in the spreads, decorate them to your heart's content, but also just have an easier way to start a bullet journal because it's already made for you. The calendar spread, the weekly spread, the trackers, they're already designed and ready for you to just fill in. It's also completely undated, so you can start this bullet journal whenever you want in the year or whatever year you want to do it. So you can start in January, you can start in July, you can start now. And because of that, it's very flexible and can fit everyone's schedule. The link for it is always in the description box of all of my videos, so you can go check it out down there, along with any digital printables that are also available on my online shop. There are not many, but there are a couple. Yeah, I just wanted to toot my own horn for a second, put this one out there if you haven't heard of it, if you're new to this channel. I would love to be able to send it to you. With that being said, let's not delay any further, and let's just get right into the time lapse. Okay, voiceover Sophie here. Let's get into the first of the 2 cover pages. We're starting off with December, like I said, and unfortunately I did indeed I think I didn't even press start. I was gonna say I lost the footage for the line art of this page, but I actually don't even think I filmed it, unfortunately, which is such a rookie mistake. I've been doing this for what, 5-6 years, and I can't press play on a camera? Anyway, all I did was a line art, so you didn't really miss much, but basically for this first recreation, we're going to be drawing a singular acrobat, not 2, because honestly, I don't like drawing guys. They're so annoying to draw because they're so difficult. I have much better time with female anatomy. And also I felt like just having one acrobat hanging from silks makes a very almost symmetrical and pretty little picture for this first cover page. The idea here is I'm going to be using the same idea of Cirque du Soleil, a trapeze artist, you know, hanging from the ceiling, but I'm going to be doing it in this like cone shape to imitate a spotlight coming down on this performer. So I'm going to use the exact same colors that I did with the other setup, you know, emphasizing golds, teals, and magentas, along with like the skin color, of course, of the trapeze artist. But the background of this is going to be black because I want to emphasize, like, if you're on stage, you have blackness and darkness around you, and there's just like one spotlight coming down on the performer. So there's going to be a lot of heavy shadows, like on the leg of the performer, on her clothes, her hair, things like that. And the silk is also going to have a lot of shadows shadow to it, especially when it's overlapping like under her knee or kind of twisting at the bottom. When it comes down from the ceiling, like I really want to emphasize the dark points here, and it may look really dramatic and really high contrast right now, but once I start adding in the blue spotlight in the background and also the dark black background, it's going to make a lot more sense why it's so contrasty. It's going to blend in a lot more. As far as improvement from my very first drawing back in 2020, well, not my first drawing ever, but my first like trapeze drawing in 2021 versus now in May of 2025, I feel like I've honestly grown so much. I did use inspiration pictures for this drawing, so this didn't just come out of my head, but I honestly usually have a hard time making ideas like just from my brain without using some sort of inspiration picture. Even if I'm just taking little bits here and there, I always tend to like to follow an image and use that as a reference. That being said, I don't think that following a reference picture makes you a quote like beginner or bad artist even. I think it's just, you know, using your resources and trying to make your drawing look as realistic as possible. But for me, I think that I really did add my own style here. I think the anatomy looks very proportionate, whereas in the first drawing it kind of doesn't. The feet and hands are still a little imperfect, I'm not gonna lie. I have a really hard time drawing feet. Hands I am a little better at, and you'll actually see that in the next part of this video, in part 2. But first, let's just focus here. Try not to get ahead of myself. Yeah, but I just think overall like the pose is very dramatic, but I still think you can tell that the proportions are pretty accurate. I like the face that she's making. I mean, the first drawing didn't even have a face, so this is improvement from that. And I think that the colors are so much more vibrant than they were on that first drawing. Now, I do have to be fair to myself. The first drawing was water-based markers. These are alcohol markers, and you may be asking yourself why I'm drawing directly into a bullet journal with alcohol markers. It's because this isn't my actual bullet journal. I'm just using a extra bullet journal that I have laying on the side, like one of my extra ones basically. And so I'm just using a spread that I don't mind having it bleed through on, because I can just, you know, flip to the next page and not worry about the bleed through. That being said, if you were going to recreate this with alcohol markers in your own bullet journal, I definitely recommend drawing on a separate piece of paper, like in a sketchbook or something, and then just cutting it out and pasting it in. So you can do the exact same technique and just, you know, on different paper. But for me, I thought it would just be easiest for time's sake, for aesthetic's sake, just to draw it directly into my journal. It was going to be fine, you know? Now, one thing I do regret a little bit about this spread is I didn't have any blue rim lighting. Because the spotlight is blue, you would think that there'd be some effect or like remnant of the light showing on her body with like the blue, but I honestly was really nervous to ruin it and add blue on the side and make it look kind of weird. I don't know. So I'm going to be adding highlights at the very end with a white gel pen, but unfortunately they're not going to be blue. But perhaps that's the next step I need to take in trying to improve my artwork, is doing more intense highlights and rim lighting. Something to work on if I decide to recreate this spread in another like 4 or 5 years. I did have a really cool font for this page. I used what I think is called a circus font, carnival font. I'll put the picture on the screen here that I used for lettering reference, and then I decided to use the gold, the same color as her bodysuit, in half of the lettering to also kind of bring that color upwards. The last thing I did was add a thick black drop shadow to the bottom right sides of every letter to kind of make it pop against the background. And I think that this like circus carnival font really fits in with the idea of like Cirque du Soleil and the trapeze artist. Like it all kind of fits together in my head. Comparing these two side to side, I think looks so good. You can see the difference. There's just so much contrast, so much more color, more detail. I like the lettering a lot better. I'm not trying to like hate on my past self. Obviously, she really liked what she did then, and I still think that that was pretty good for at the time, but now like 4+ years later, my art has improved, my style has changed, and I really wanted to reflect that in this setup. Now moving on to the second drawing. So this is going to be my April recreation, right? And I wanted to kind of keep the same vibes of scrapbooking and like a bunch of different small pictures and bits put together rather than like one big drawing, to kind of still emulate the almost same vibes as the first one. That one was more heavy on just like the craft paper and the music notes, the music paper. I sound like I haven't played in orchestra before. If you guys didn't know, I actually was in orchestra. I played a violin for 10 years. I started in kindergarten and I quit in 10th grade or after 10th grade. And I actually played in orchestra from 5th grade to 10th grade. So I have a lot of experience with orchestra, being in orchestra, playing violin, things like that, reading music. So you'd think I'd be able to find the word for sheet music and not music note or whatever I just said a second ago. Anyway, but for this cover page, I'm basically drawing a bunch of small little images, almost like they're pictures that I printed and scrapbooked together, but instead of printing them, I'm literally just drawing them. And I was really testing my abilities with this one because I didn't really mean to, but I ended up drawing like 4 hands in this one cover page. And if you know anything about drawing, hands are very hard to draw. Personally, for me, I tend to really simplify the shapes, and I've gotten better over the years. They're definitely not perfect. I think the hands on the piano look a lot better than the hands on the cello, but overall I have so much more difficulty personally with drawing like feet than I do with hands. Something about feet, it just like the toes always look weird, or the angle of the ankle always looks like it's broken. Like I just really have a hard time with drawing feet, which is why on the previous page I feel like the acrobat's feet were just like very general shapes, like one blob kind of. Here though, it's more close-up images, so I had to really focus on the details in the anatomy. And once again, I'm using reference pictures for all of this, so this isn't just coming out of my head. And again, the ones on the cello are not as perfect, but I do like how the ones on the piano turned out. They seem very realistic to me. So I'm honestly kind of proud of myself for pushing myself out of my comfort zone and challenging myself a little bit with this drawing, really trying to prove and see if I have improved over the past couple of years compared to that first one when I drew that very, very lonely piano and just line art. I don't think I was really trying that hard when I drew the original piano because it is quite simplistic, but I think I was just nervous, to be honest, that month, and I wanted to lean more on scrapbooking than art. But overall, I think that the drawings right here in this new recreated version really emphasize that dark academia feel, which I think is great for especially like a fall month or something. I love the like dark shadows on the papers. I love the emphasis of gold. And also, pro tip, if you're trying to draw something shiny, like for example the gold candelabra at the bottom of this page, make sure you leave really, really sharp highlights. Like I usually like to add highlights with a white gel pen at the end of a drawing, but here I was actually leaving gaps in the marker itself. So it's almost like there were columns of gold and then columns of white in each section of the candelabra, and this emphasizes like the reflection that would be bouncing off of an actual gold shiny candelabra. So pro tip, if you're trying to draw something very shiny, leave lots of gaps and white space, and that will really emphasize the luster of it. Is that the right word? Luster? I think it is. Once again for this page, I'm using alcohol markers, so very similar to the last one where I can really lean into bright and strong saturated colors because they are so pigmented. Another thing that I think I like a lot on this page is this almost strip of music notes that are twisting around the middle. So I did leave a gap because after I finish drawing, I'm going to start adding in some more scrapbooking elements, trying to tie in that combination of drawn and scrapbooking bits, emulate the same vibes as that original setup, of course. But that being said, this like strip of music notes in the middle I think looks really cool because it looks almost alive. Like I said, just like one boring, like 4 lines all the way across. It's more lively because the lines are twisting, they're bouncing, they're twirling. The music notes on the lines are not perfectly placed, they're kind of flying off, and the ends of the line are kind of swooping. I don't know, I feel like there was a lot of like energy to it that I really, really liked, and that's something that I definitely didn't do on the original one, but I think was a cool choice that I added to this one to kind of make the music seem more, I don't know, like it's just coming off the page, it's like more animated. It's not just boring music like sheet music, it has like some oomph to it. So we have the piano in the bottom right, which I think turned out very good, but it's honestly very easy to draw a piano from a top-down angle because it's just like rectangles, and using the dot grid in a journal, it makes it really easy too to just like follow the lines, and every space is like the space of a piano key. However, the cello was much more difficult. I liked the piano. I honestly also liked the trumpet in the top right. I think it looks very good. The cello was always very hard, and it's funny because I played violin, which is basically the same shape as a cello, just smaller, and I was in orchestra, like I said, for years, so I know how cellos look, I know how these instruments work, but I've always had a hard time drawing them. Something about the proportions, the angle, the way that the instrument curves, I don't know, it's always been something that really doesn't stick with me. I can just never draw them quite right. And that being said, half of the drawing is going to be covered up anyway with this piece of actual sheet music that I'm going to be cutting and taping into the middle of the spread. And I'm also going to be adding in another one in the bottom right, along with this like butterfly image that I had printed out in my scrapbooking or ephemera collection. Along with this, I'm going to be adding a bit of washi tape, and then I'm also going to put in a piece of, I think it's just white sticker paper, where I will write April on this sheet music in the top middle. Anyway, I got my alphabet stamps out for the title here, and I ended up typing or pressing AQR instead of APR for the first couple letters of April, so I had to take out my black pen and a little bit of white gel pen to kind of cover up that mistake and flip it around to be a P and not a Q. A little bit messy, but honestly it kind of leans in that dark academia vibe anyway, so I'm okay with a little bit of scrappiness and messiness. Once again, using a white gel pen to add more details, highlights to everything else in the spread, and that's gonna be it. So pulling out my original, you can really see the comparison here. I didn't use any craft paper, but I leaned into that same brown aesthetic, and I think that this one looks so much more saturated, so much more interesting. So yeah, these are my two setups, my two recreations. Let me know in the comments what you think about them, and if you want a part 2 as well, also let me know. I'd be happy to make one for you. Again, I'm filming this clip right now before I sketched the spreads, so I hope by the time that you're seeing this that the spreads turned out how I wanted them to look, and I hope that you like them. Subscribe as always. I post new videos almost every Saturday, and I know a lot of you guys who watch my videos are not subscribed, so you should definitely come join us over here. We have a really good time. If you want a part 2 for this video where I redesign more of my old bullet journaling spreads, let me know, and also comment down below which theme you want me to recreate. And by the way, the links to both of the Plan With Me videos for both of the original setups will be down below. They are old videos, so keep that in mind, but if you want to see the full setup, I did film and post both of these. I hope you guys have the most amazing week ever. I love you so, so much. And if you want to watch my most recent video, which was a unboxing video with T. Fossey and making a spread with only one black pen, I'll have that video linked right here on the screen.